I know what I saw, but my mind keeps trying to rewrite it. Like maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I made it worse than it was. Maybe I'm the one turning a moment into a mess. But deep down, I know better. Something was wrong. And now, nothing feels real anymore. It was raining that day. The kind of rain that doesn't care if you're in a hurry. Heavy, cold, relentless. I was walking back from meeting a friend. I wasn't planning on going home right away. Just needed to grab something from the store. I remember checking the time on my phone. 5:32 p.m. I took a shortcut. A quiet street with a row of small shops and cafes. That shortcut changed everything. I was walking past one of the cafes, you know the kind. Dim lighting, mismatched chairs, tiny round tables by the window. And there she was, my mom, sitting at a window table, alone at first glance. She looked calm. Her hair was tied back in her usual low bun. Her coat draped over the chair behind her. She was facing the window. I smiled. Thought maybe she was treating herself. She'd mentioned earlier she had errands to run. Then I noticed the man sitting across from her. He was half-turned, and for a second I couldn't place him. But then he looked up, and I felt the air leave my chest. It was my dad's boss. Let me explain why that's weird. This man has only been to our house twice. Once during a Christmas dinner, polite, stiff, businesslike. The second time, for some meeting with my dad. Nothing personal, nothing casual. Not the kind of man you grab coffee with on a rainy Thursday evening. So why was he sitting across from my mother in a tiny cafe? Why were they leaning in close, speaking quietly, avoiding eye contact with anyone else? They weren't holding hands. They weren't laughing or acting inappropriate. But the energy between them? It was off. She was leaning forward when she spoke. Soft smile. Almost like she was trying to seem calm, not be calm. And then I saw it. She tucked her hair behind her ear. Now that might sound normal, but I'd seen her do it when she's nervous, when she's hiding something. She does it when she's lying. My mom doesn't have many tells, but that one, I've known it since I was a kid. He wasn't drinking his coffee, just stirring it, round and round. His jaw was tense, his leg bouncing slightly under the table. If it was just a business conversation, why did they both look like they were waiting to be caught? I didn't go in. I crossed the street, ducked under a shop's awning, and pulled out my phone like I was checking messages. But I wasn't doing anything. I was just watching, trying to read their faces. 15 minutes passed. They didn't touch. They didn't argue, but they weren't casual either. Then they stood up. She reached for her coat, checked her reflection in the cafe window. He opened the door. The rain was still pouring. She lifted her handbag over her head to shield herself. He opened the passenger side of a dark gray car. She got in. He jogged to the driver's side and slid in without looking around. And then they were gone. I stood there for a full minute after the car disappeared, drenched, frozen, trying to convince myself that what I saw didn't mean anything. But it did. It had to. She came home nearly 2 hours later. Her coat was damp, hair a little frizzy. In her hand, a half-full cup of coffee. She smiled at me, like nothing happened. "You eat yet?" she asked. Traffic was terrible. I grabbed a coffee and waited it out. That was it. No mention of the cafe, no mention of him. I stared at her. I didn't say anything, and she just kept talking. Said she had a headache, that she was going to lie down, then walked to her room like everything was fine. But it wasn't. The lie wasn't dramatic. It wasn't shouted or defensive. It was simple, casual, smooth. And that made it worse. Because she didn't even flinch, didn't hesitate, didn't wonder if I'd seen her. I sat with it all night, replay after replay in my head. The way they looked at each other, the distance between their bodies, the way she smiled, the way he stirred his cup. And now I can't stop asking myself, was it nothing? Was it something more? Or was it something worse than I even realize? Because it wasn't just the meeting. It was the lie that followed, the soft smile, the calm voice, like nothing had happened, but something did. I just don't know what it is yet. After she went to her room, I sat in the kitchen, lights off. The coffee she brought still on the counter. I stared at it. Not because I was curious, but because I couldn't stop thinking. Was that cup meant to hide something? Make everything seem normal? She acted like nothing happened, asked if I ate, said traffic was bad, told me she stopped for coffee. No mention of him, no pause, no guilt. Just a soft lie, dressed up as a casual sentence. And I was supposed to smile back. Pretend I didn't see her sitting at a café with my dad's boss. Pretend I didn't watch them leave together. Pretend everything was fine. I couldn't. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The fan above made this soft, clicking sound I'd never noticed before. Click, 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 just like the loop in my head. Her coat, the way she adjusted her hair, the way he stirred his coffee without drinking it. Over and over. My eyes were wide open, but the room was blurry, like I was floating inside a moment that hadn't ended yet. I started asking myself the questions no one wants to ask. What was that meeting? Why did she lie? Why him? Why my dad's boss of all people? Even if it was innocent, why not mention it? Why not say, "Oh hey, ran into your dad's boss at the cafe"? Because she didn't run into him. That wasn't coincidence. It was a planned meeting. Two people seated at a corner table. No phones out, no distractions. Just focus. And tension. So much tension. She smiled, sure, but it wasn't real. It was the smile you use when you're trying to keep something from slipping through your teeth. I remember when I was 12, I lied about breaking a glass, said it fell on its own. My mom didn't even question it at the time. But the next day, she told me, "You smiled too quickly when I asked." That's how I knew. She knew. Because fake smiles have a rhythm, a delay. And now I was watching her do the same thing. The next morning, she was making breakfast like nothing happened. Eggs, toast, her hair pulled back again, same calm expression. She asked me if I wanted juice, like she hadn't lied straight to my face 12 hours ago. I said no thanks and went to the bathroom, closed the door, washed my face with cold water, trying to snap myself out of whatever fog I was stuck in. When I came back out, her phone was on the counter, unlocked, just sitting there. She was flipping eggs with her back turned. And for half a second, I reached for it, but I couldn't do it. Not yet. I wasn't ready to become that person, the kind who checks phones, the kind who searches for proof. But that moment planted something in my head, because I realized something else. She never leaves her phone out anymore. She used to, all the time, while watching TV, while doing laundry, while talking to me. Now, always in her purse, or face down, or locked. Something changed. That evening, I asked her what she did after work. She smiled too easily. Nothing much, just errands. Then coffee, like I said. She held my gaze, didn't flinch, didn't stumble. A practiced answer. Too smooth, too clean. So I pushed, just a little. "Anyone else there?" Her smile didn't break. "Nope, just me and a book." And there it was. Line number 2, now spoken twice. Same tone, same delivery. It wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. That night, I went online. Looked up things I never thought I'd have to search. How to tell if someone is emotionally cheating. Signs your parent is hiding something. When to confront someone you love. I didn't like the answers. They all said the same thing. If you feel something's wrong, it probably is. And worse, the longer you stay silent, the deeper the lie gets. I closed my laptop, sat there in the dark, thinking, waiting, spinning. I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. But I also couldn't keep pretending nothing happened. Because something was unraveling. I could feel it. And eventually, it was going to fall apart completely. It was around midnight when I heard her voice. I wasn't asleep, not even close. I'd been lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, just listening to the hum of the fan and the occasional car outside. My mind kept looping. The café, the lie, the fake smile, the coffee cup on the counter, like a trophy for a story she made up. I kept wondering what they talked about, what could have been important enough to meet in secret and lie about afterward. And more importantly, what was she trying to protect me from? Or who was she protecting? I heard movement in the hallway, soft steps. Her door creaked. Then, silence. I assumed she went to the kitchen for water or something. But 5 minutes passed. No sound. Nothing. Curiosity pulled me out of bed. I moved slowly, carefully, feet avoiding the spots in the floor that creaked. I peeked around the hallway. Her door was cracked open slightly. But she wasn't in her room. I moved toward the back of the house. Our backyard door has this small pane of glass at the top. And through it, I could see the silhouette of her, standing just outside under the porch light, phone pressed to her ear, head slightly tilted, one hand clutching her robe. I froze, held my breath, leaned just close enough to the door so I could hear a piece of it. Her voice was low, calm. Then she said it. No, it can't happen again. It was too risky. And just like that, my stomach dropped. My brain started spinning. It can't happen again. What couldn't happen again? The meeting? The conversation? The lie? Something more? And the way she said it, like it was final. Like something already happened. Like whatever line she crossed, she knew she went too far. She didn't sound upset. She didn't sound like she was saying goodbye. She sounded like someone trying to maintain control. Like someone cleaning up a mess before anyone else found out. And I realized this wasn't the beginning of something. This was the middle. Whatever was going on, it had already started. I was just late to the truth. I stepped back from the door, quietly. Didn't want her to hear me. My heartbeat was pounding in my ears, like a drum. I went back to my room, closed the door, sat on my bed in the dark, and thought, what the hell is happening? I didn't sleep that night. Again. The phrase kept echoing. Her voice, that exact sentence. It can't happen again. It haunted me. Because you don't say that unless something did happen. And suddenly, all the little moments leading up to this started snapping into place. Her new perfume. Her phone, always locked now. How quickly she ends phone calls. The way she checks the front door before she leaves. She was acting like someone who had something to hide. And now, I couldn't unhear that sentence. I didn't tell her I heard it. Not the next morning. Not that week. But I watched her more closely than ever. She smiled the same way. Cooked the same meals. Kept pretending like everything was fine. But now I knew she was carrying something. Something heavy. And whatever it wasn't just guilt. It was active. She was still lying. Still covering. Still managing whatever this secret was. I started writing things down. Not like a detective, just observations. Monday, she said she was going to the grocery store. Came back with one bag. Took 90 minutes. Tuesday, locked her phone before going to the bathroom. Thursday, got a call at 11:42 p.m. Didn't take it. Looked stressed. It sounds crazy, but when someone you love starts lying, you start collecting crumbs. Because the truth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And if you're not listening carefully, you miss it. One night, I even opened her closet. Just stood there. Not because I thought I'd find anything, but because I needed to be near the lies, to remind myself I wasn't imagining it. The house felt like a stage, and I didn't know which scenes were real anymore. I kept thinking about my dad. How tired he always looked. How he still smiled when she handed him his tea. How he had no idea what was happening. Or maybe he did. Maybe he'd seen the signs too. Maybe he was just choosing not to confront them, like me. But there was one thing I was sure of now. This wasn't going away on its own. Whatever they started, whatever they did, it wasn't done yet. And sooner or later, the truth was going to break out of its hiding place, one way or another. I wasn't trying to catch her. Not at first. I didn't want to be the kid who spies on his mom. But after what I heard her say, it can't happen again. I couldn't just pretend anymore. Because that wasn't just guilt. It was finality. It was someone saying, we got away with it once, but let's not push our luck. For the next few days, everything felt fake. Her laugh, the way she asked about my day, even the way she folded laundry in the living room like nothing was wrong. I watched her, not like a daughter, like a stranger trying to figure out what kind of person she really was. She didn't seem guilty, not in the way I expected. She smiled the same, chatted the same, but that made it worse. Because people who feel nothing after crossing a line, they scare me more than people who cry when they're caught. One night, she left her room to shower, left her door open, just barely. I was walking past. I stopped, looked in. Her purse was on the nightstand. Her drawer was slightly open. And I hesitated. I told myself I wasn't going to touch anything. But that drawer, it was calling me. Not like in a movie, not dramatic. Just this slow, quiet whisper in the back of my mind. You already know something's wrong. Why are you pretending you don't? I opened it, slowly, carefully. Inside, some loose pens, old receipts, gum wrappers, a couple of birthday cards, and an envelope. Plain, white, no name, no label. But tucked underneath, like it didn't want to be found. I pulled it out, hands shaking, heart pounding. I unfolded the flap. Inside were two things. The first, a printed email. From her to my dad's boss. Subject line, regarding what we discussed. Please delete after reading. The body was short, tight, carefully worded. I appreciate you meeting me in person. I know how this looks, but I'm asking you to handle things discreetly. Let's not make this messier than it already is. No date, no sign-off, no details, just enough to confirm everything I feared. The second thing in the envelope, a photo, not printed from a phone. Real photo paper, matte finish, 4x6. She was in it. So was he. They were outside, maybe a park, or outside that same café. She was seated. He was standing next to her. His hand was on her shoulder, just resting there, but gently, intimately. Her face wasn't turned toward him, but she was smiling. Not like she knew the photo was being taken, like she was enjoying the moment. And suddenly, all my doubts turned into something else. Certainty. This wasn't imagination. This wasn't insecurity. This was proof. Something was happening. Something they didn't want anyone to know. I felt sick, stood in the middle of her room, holding that photo like it was made of fire. I wanted to put it back, but part of me wanted to confront her right then, to drop it on the table and say, "What is this? What were you doing with him? What did you mean when you said it can't happen again?" But I didn't, because I wasn't ready, because this story wasn't finished yet. I slipped everything back into the envelope, put it exactly where I found it, closed the drawer, left the room, pretended I had never been there. That night, she acted like everything was normal. She asked if I wanted to watch a movie. She made popcorn. She sat beside me on the couch like the world wasn't breaking apart, piece by piece. And I sat there, staring at the TV, not watching a single second, because all I could think about was that photo, that email, that hand on her shoulder, and how the person I thought I knew suddenly felt like a stranger with my mother's face. I didn't sleep. Again, the fourth night in a row, because now I wasn't just suspicious. I was holding a secret, and the weight of it was crushing me. I started to wonder, what happens if I tell my dad? What happens if I confront her? What happens if the whole truth comes out? But more than anything, what happens if I stay quiet and this just keeps going? Because whatever this was, it wasn't over. Not yet. And the next time she walks through that door smiling, I won't be smiling back. I held the photo in my mind like a secret flame. Hot, dangerous, too real to ignore. That image, his hand on her shoulder, her soft smile, the comfort in their closeness, it haunted me. It wasn't romantic in a movie kind of way, but it was intimate. Too intimate for a married woman. Too intimate for my mom. I spent the next few days floating, like my body was doing things, brushing teeth, eating, checking my phone, but my mind was somewhere else. Stuck, frozen. I couldn't unsee it. Couldn't unfeel it. And worse, I couldn't unknow what she was doing. Every time my dad walked through the door after work, carrying the weight of another long day, I felt this sick wave of guilt rise in me. He was so tired, so trusting, still joking, still asking Mom if she wanted tea. He had no idea. One night, we were watching TV. Dad sat in his usual chair. Mom was curled on the couch next to me. She laughed at something on screen. Dad reached over to rub her shoulder. Absent-minded, casual affection. She flinched. Not a big one. Just enough for me to notice. And that moment shattered something small and quiet inside me. Because now, even the touch between them felt false. Like she didn't deserve it. Like she didn't know how to accept love from the man she was lying to. I started avoiding her. I couldn't help it. In the mornings, I left early. At dinner, I ate fast. She noticed. She started asking if I was okay, if something was bothering me. And I wanted to scream, "Are you really going to pretend nothing's wrong? Even now?" But I didn't, not yet. Instead, I told someone else, just one person, my best friend, Sam. We were in his car, parked on some quiet street, windows fogging up. I told him everything, from the café to the lie, from the phone call to the envelope, from the photo to the email. He didn't interrupt, didn't laugh, didn't tell me I was imagining things. He just stared through the windshield and said, "You need to show your dad, like, now." But I couldn't, not yet, because as angry as I was, as betrayed as I felt, this was still my family. And once I opened that door, there'd be no closing it, no going back, no pretending, no peace. So I asked him something I hadn't admitted out loud yet. What if I ruin everything? He looked at me and said, "You didn't ruin it. She did. You just saw it." That line sat with me, even days later, because it was true. I didn't ask for this. I didn't go digging. I didn't plant the seed. I just found it growing in the dark, and now it was choking everything around it. One evening, Dad and I were in the garage. He was working on something with the car. I was handing him tools. He told me about a new project at work, said his boss gave it to him directly. "I think it means I'm finally getting promoted," he said, smiling. And my chest tightened, because that man, his boss, was the same one who had coffee with my mom, the same one with his hand on her shoulder. I wanted to tell him, right there, in that moment, just blurt it out, rip it open, but I couldn't. I looked at his face, the pride, the excitement, the tired optimism of a man who thought things were finally turning around. And I realized he had no armor for this. He wasn't ready. Or maybe I wasn't ready to watch him fall apart. So I nodded, said, "That's awesome, Dad," and handed him the next wrench. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. I pulled the envelope from her drawer again, sat on my bed with it, the email, the photo, the weight of everything unsaid. I stared at them for what felt like an hour. Then I made a decision. I didn't have the courage to speak the words yet, but I needed a backup, something undeniable. So I took a picture of both, the letter, the photo, saved them on a private drive, locked them in a folder with a password, not because I wanted to expose her, but because if things exploded, I didn't want to rely on memory alone. That was the moment I realized I was preparing for war, not because I wanted to fight, but because I knew a battle was coming, and when it hit, I'd need proof. Not just emotion, not just suspicion. Proof. I didn't plan to say anything, not that day, not like that. But some things don't wait for the perfect moment. Some truths press against your chest until they rick their way out. And that's exactly what happened. It started small. We were in the kitchen. He was washing dishes. I was pretending to scroll through my phone. The sun was starting to set. Golden light hit the tiles just right. She looked peaceful, too peaceful, and that made me angry. Because I was drowning in silence, and she was humming to herself while rinsing plates, like nothing had happened. Like she wasn't hiding an emotional bomb under our roof. She turned around with a towel in her hand and asked, "Want pasta tonight?" That's what did it. Not the cafe, not the photo, not the email, not the lie. It was the question, pasta. Like everything was still normal, and suddenly I snapped. "I saw you." The words came out faster than I expected. She blinked, caught off guard, still holding the towel. "What?" she said softly. I didn't wait, didn't sugarcoat, didn't give her a chance to shape the story. At the cafe, with Dad's boss. Her lips parted, not in shock, more like delay. Like she was searching for a script that didn't exist. She set the towel down, leaned against the counter, didn't deny it, didn't panic. She just asked, "When?" That one word broke my heart. Because it meant she wasn't surprised I saw her. She was just surprised I hadn't said anything sooner. "Last week," I said. "Rainy day. I was walking to the store. I saw you two inside. You left together. You told me you were alone." She looked down. Not crying, not shaking. Just quiet. Like someone who knew this day would come. I kept going. Why lie? Why him? Why didn't you just tell the truth? No response. So I added, "It's not just the cafe. I heard your phone call. I read the email. I saw the photo. I know." She closed her eyes for a second. A slow exhale. Not denial, not defiance. Just a kind of grief. Then she whispered, "I didn't want to hurt anyone." That line made something burn in my chest. "You already did." She finally looked up at me, eyes red, voice soft. "It wasn't what you think. It never went that far." But I crossed lines. I told myself I was helping your father, but I wasn't. I was helping myself feel powerful in a moment where I felt powerless. I didn't say anything. I just stared. Because what do you say to that? "What does that mean?" I asked. "What exactly did you do?" She hesitated, then said, "I asked for a favor, for your dad's job, but it became more than that. Emotional. Complicated." I stopped it, but it should have never started. For a second, I believed her. I wanted to, because I needed to, because the alternative meant everything in this house was built on lies. But then I remembered the way she smiled in that photo, the way his hand rested on her shoulder, the way she said, "It can't happen again." That wasn't someone who barely crossed a line. That was someone deep in something they didn't know how to leave. I took a breath, said, "You need to tell Dad." She froze. "No." "Yes. It'll destroy him. Not telling him will destroy him worse." She leaned back on the counter like her legs couldn't hold her anymore, like I had just punched the air out of her lungs. I didn't soften, didn't retreat. You lied to both of us, I said. He deserves the truth. She didn't argue after that, didn't promise to do it, didn't say when. She just nodded, once, and walked out of the kitchen. Later that night, I heard her crying in her room, but I didn't go check, because some wounds need silence. Some people need to sit with what they've done. And for once, this wasn't mine to fix. The house was different after that, not louder, not colder, just off, like the air itself had shifted. My mom didn't talk much, she moved slower, didn't hum when she cooked, didn't look me in the eyes, and I didn't push her. Because once you say something that cracks a person open, you don't rush what comes next. I thought confronting her would make me feel better, that I'd feel lighter, but I didn't. Now I knew everything, and knowing didn't bring peace. It just brought silence. The kind that crawls inside you when trust dies. She didn't tell my dad, not that night, not the next morning, not the day after. Every time he came home from work, he'd kiss her on the cheek, ask how her day was, smile. And every time I had to look away, because she was still lying, and I was too. The guilt got worse. I started avoiding both of them. I came home late, spent more time in my room, skipped dinner once or twice. She noticed. So did he. One night, he knocked on my door. "Can I come in?" I said sure. He sat on the edge of my bed, holding 2 mugs of hot chocolate, like he used to when I was a kid and couldn't sleep. "You've been quiet lately." I shrugged, "Just school stuff." He looked at me for a long second. The kind of look dads give when they already know you're lying. But he didn't push. He just said, "You ever get that feeling something's wrong, but you're scared to find out what it is?" That sentence, that exact sentence, shattered me. Because he knew, or at least, he suspected something. I stared down at the mug in my hands. My fingers tightened around the handle. I wanted to tell him right there, the whole thing. The cafe, the lie, the photo, the email, the sentence I overheard. But I couldn't, not with him sitting on my bed, smiling like he was still trying to hold our world together. So I said, "Yeah, I get it." He nodded, took a sip. Sometimes you don't want the answer. You just want it to stop bothering you. Then he patted my shoulder, smiled again, and walked out. I stared at the closed door for a long time after he left, because I realized something. He wasn't clueless. He was in denial. And maybe he was waiting for someone to confirm what he was too scared to ask. I didn't sleep that night. Again. My thoughts were spinning, louder than ever. I'd confronted her. She admitted it. But she was still keeping it from him. And now, I was too. I was protecting someone who hadn't protected him. The next morning, I walked past the kitchen and saw her standing at the sink. Her posture was stiff, like someone bracing for impact. She didn't look at me, just said, "Morning." I didn't respond, because I was done playing this game. Later that day, I made up my mind. I didn't know how or when, but I couldn't keep this between us anymore. He deserved to know, not because I wanted drama, not because I wanted revenge, but because secrets like this rot everything they touch. And I didn't want to be a part of that anymore. I opened my phone, found the folder, the saved photo, the email, and I just stared at them. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel powerful. I felt sad, because even telling the truth was going to break someone who didn't deserve to be broken. But I had no choice. The longer I waited, the more I became part of the lie. So I texted him, "Can we talk tonight? Just us?" A few minutes later, he replied, "Of course, what's up?" And just like that, I knew what I had to do. That evening felt slower than usual. The sun dipped early, the shadows came faster, and the air in the house felt full, like it knew what was about to happen, like it was bracing for something we couldn't take back. I told him to meet me out back, the little wooden bench under the porch light. It's where we always sat during power outages or summer storms. This time, The storm was between us, and I was the one bringing it. He walked out at 8:07 p.m., phone in one hand, mug in the other. "Everything okay?" he asked, sitting beside me. I couldn't answer right away. I was staring at the floorboards, heart racing, legs stiff, hands shaking slightly. He noticed, set his mug down, waited, and then I just started. Not in order, not rehearsed, just the truth, as it had lived in my chest for too long. "I saw Mom, with your boss, at the cafe. They left together. She lied to me about it, said she was alone." His face didn't change. No raised eyebrows, no sharp inhale, just still. I kept going. "I overheard her one night, on the phone. She said, 'It can't happen again.' I checked her drawer, found a photo of them together, found a printed email she sent him. She asked him to keep it discreet. Still no response. So I pulled out my phone, opened the folder. I didn't want to believe it either, but you deserve to see this." I handed it to him. He looked at the screen for a long time. First the photo, then the email. His hands didn't shake, his eyes didn't water, but something in his shoulders just dropped. Like someone who'd been carrying too much weight finally realized what it was made of. He handed the phone back, didn't look at me, just stared into the dark yard. Then he said, "I had a feeling." That crushed me, because he knew. He'd known something was wrong, but he wasn't ready to face it, until now. "How long have you known?" he asked quietly. "A little over a week," I said. "I wanted to tell you sooner. I just didn't know how." He nodded, still staring into nothing. "You did the right thing." We sat in silence for a while, crickets chirping, distant traffic humming. A breeze we didn't feel. Then he spoke again. "I gave everything to this family. Every promotion I turned down. Every weekend I stayed in. Every time I said, 'It's okay, I'll wait.'" His voice didn't break, but it cracked. Just once, and that was enough. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. I just sat there, wishing I could go back in time and fix something I never broke. After a few more minutes, he stood up, picked up his mug. "Don't blame yourself for this. You didn't do anything wrong." Then he walked back into the house. No anger, no yelling, just a quiet man carrying the weight of a betrayal he never deserved. I stayed out there, alone, sat until the porch light flickered off, until the bugs stopped buzzing, until the stars disappeared behind clouds. Because sometimes, silence says more than anything else ever could. Inside the house, I didn't hear yelling, didn't hear her crying, didn't hear him confronting her. Just footsteps, doors, one suitcase being zipped, and I knew he was leaving. I didn't sleep that night, not because of guilt, not even because of fear, just stillness, a kind I'd never felt before. The kind that comes when something ends, but nobody says the words out loud. I woke up early. Maybe I never actually slept. The hallway felt cold, like the walls knew, like the furniture had lost its reason to be there. My mom's door was closed, so was his, but I already knew. He was leaving. By 7:40 a.m., I heard the sound, the zipper, soft, but final. It echoed down the hallway, louder than any scream could have. I walked out just in time to see him by the door. Shoes on, jacket folded over his arm, bag in his hand. He didn't look angry, didn't even look tired. He just looked done. Like someone who had given all the chances and now had nothing left to give. My mom stood a few feet away, arms crossed, eyes red but dry, no makeup. No words. She looked like someone who wanted to cry but knew it wouldn't change anything. He looked at me. "I'm going to stay with my brother for a while." I nodded, swallowed hard. I wanted to hug him, wanted to stop him, wanted to say something that would reverse the last 48 hours. But I didn't, because I knew better. He looked at her next. Not cruel, not angry, just quiet. You didn't have to lie. She nodded, didn't say anything. I could have handled the truth, he added. But now I don't know what's real anymore. And with that, he turned, opened the door, and walked out. The door didn't slam. The car didn't peel away. There was no drama, just a soft click and the sound of gravel under tires. That was it. He was gone. My mom stood there for a moment longer, then walked to the kitchen, started wiping a perfectly clean counter, again and again and again, like she could scrub the silence off the walls. I went back to my room, sat on the floor, back against the bed, eyes staring at the wall. I thought telling the truth would fix things. I thought once it was out there, we could begin to heal. But I didn't account for the in-between, the part where everything just falls apart, quietly. That day passed slowly. Mom didn't talk much. I didn't either. The air felt too thick to speak through. She didn't ask where he went. She already knew. She didn't ask how I knew. She already knew that too. Later that evening, I found her sitting on the couch, blanket around her shoulders, TV on, but muted. She wasn't watching it, just sitting, staring into nothing. And for the first time, I didn't see my mother. I saw a woman who made a mistake and now had no idea how to fix it. She looked at me once, didn't say anything, then looked away. And I realized there was nothing left to say, not right now. This wasn't a house anymore. It was a waiting room, a place between disaster and recovery. And I didn't know how long we'd be stuck there. The next few days blurred together. No yelling, no chaos, just silence. The kind of silence that sits in the corner of every room, watching you pretend like things aren't broken. The kitchen still smelled like coffee. The laundry machine still hummed. The TV still played its usual shows. But the man who made the coffee? Gone. The man who tossed socks into the hallway? Gone. The one who used to sing off-key while brushing his teeth? Gone. And my mom? She didn't talk much. She moved like she was afraid to bump into her own memories. She cleaned a lot. Not aggressively, but obsessively. Polishing picture frames that didn't need polishing. Refolding clothes that were already folded. Wiping counters twice, then a third time. Like if she kept moving, she wouldn't feel the stillness swallowing everything. One morning, I found her just sitting at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. Her tea had gone cold. I didn't say anything, just stood in the doorway. She didn't notice me at first. Then she looked up, eyes red, face pale. He took his toothbrush, she said softly. That broke me, because she wasn't talking about the object. She was talking about what it meant. She knew. She knew this wasn't a short break. It was the beginning of something long, uncertain, maybe permanent. I sat down across from her. For the first time in days, neither of us spoke for a long time. Then she whispered, "You must hate me." I shook my head. Not because I forgave her, but because it wasn't that simple. I don't hate you, I said. I just don't understand you anymore. That landed hard. I could see it in her face, like a line of truth she'd been trying not to cross. She looked down, then said something I didn't expect. I was lonely. I blinked, waited. She took a deep breath. Your dad, he's a good man, but sometimes he disappears into work, into pressure, into providing. And I felt invisible, and I hated that about myself, that I needed more. I stayed quiet, because I didn't want to interrupt. She continued. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I thought if I could ask for help, maybe I could fix something without him ever needing to know. But then emotions got twisted, and I let it happen, I let something soft become something secret. She wiped a tear from her cheek. Not dramatically, just human. I crossed a line I can't uncross. And I don't blame you for hating me, or for telling him. Another pause. You were brave. Braver than I was. Those words sat in the air like fog, heavy, but somehow clearer than anything she'd said all week. I didn't respond right away. I didn't know how. Because hearing the why doesn't always erase the what. Later that evening, I walked past their room. The bed was made, his side still untouched. Like a hotel room waiting for someone who isn't coming. I looked at the framed photo on the nightstand, one of all three of us, from some trip we took when I was little. We looked happy and real. Now it just looked like a memory from someone else's life. That night, she knocked on my door. "Can I leave you something?" She stepped inside and placed a folded piece of paper on my desk. "You don't have to read it now, or ever. I just needed to write it." She left before I could ask anything. I stared at it for hours, didn't touch it, didn't read it, not yet, because I didn't know what I wanted from her anymore. Answers? Apologies? Closure? Maybe just space. Like the kind she gave Dad, except he took it. And I hadn't yet. This house still looked the same. The walls, the lights, the rooms. But inside, everything was different, and I didn't know if it would ever feel like home again. It sat on my desk all night, folded once, no envelope, my name written across the top in her handwriting. The same neat cursive she used to write notes for school when I was sick. Now that same handwriting carried something else. Guilt, fear, maybe love, maybe lies. I didn't read it at first. I turned off the lights, stared at the ceiling, listened to the soft hum of the fan. But I couldn't sleep, not with that piece of paper sitting inches away. So I turned the light back on, sat up, unfolded it. I don't expect you to forgive me. I'm not even sure I forgive myself. But I need to tell you what I couldn't say out loud. It started like that. Simple, scared, honest. You weren't supposed to be involved in this. None of this was supposed to touch you. I was trying to protect your father from a storm I created, and I failed. Her words felt tired, not dramatic, not polished. Like she was finally done pretending. It started as a favor. I asked him to look out for your dad. I thought I could handle it, but I let things get emotional. I let someone outside our family see me in ways your father should have. And that's the part I can't undo. She owned it, not with excuses, but with weight. Every sentence felt like a step deeper into her regret. I didn't cheat, but I betrayed him anyway, with silence, with secrets, with attention I never should have given away. That line hit the hardest, because it matched what I'd felt all along. No affair, no scandal, but a bond that didn't belong to her anymore, a closeness she handed over to someone else. I wanted you to find peace in this house, not whispers, not doubt, not the burden of keeping something so heavy. But you stepped up when I couldn't. You told the truth. And even though it broke everything, you did what I should have done from the beginning. I paused reading, sat back in the chair, swallowed the lump in my throat, because for the first time, it didn't feel like she was talking to me. It felt like she was handing me a piece of herself, the broken part. The part she didn't want anyone else to see. Your father is the best man I've ever known. And I forgot that. I let fear and frustration replace gratitude. And I'll carry that for the rest of my life. She signed it with just her name. No love, Mom. No closing line. Just the truth, folded in silence. I sat there for a long time after reading it. No music, no distractions. Just the quiet realization that sometimes the people who raise you aren't just parents. They're people. Flawed, lonely, capable of hurting others even when they don't mean to. Did the letter fix anything? No. But it changed something. I didn't see her as the villain anymore. I didn't see her as the mom I used to believe was perfect either. I saw her as someone stuck, scared, wishing for a version of life that didn't exist anymore. And next morning, she didn't mention the letter. She made coffee, sat at the table, didn't look up when I entered the kitchen. I poured myself some, sat down across from her. We didn't talk, but we were sitting at the same table again, for the first time in days, and somehow that felt like something. Not healing, but maybe the beginning of it. That night, I texted my dad. She wrote me a letter. You might want to read it too. He replied 2 hours later. I'll come by tomorrow. He came the next morning, no warning, no call ahead. Just the sound of his car pulling into the driveway, the engine cutting, the door shutting softly. I looked out the window. He was holding nothing, no suitcase, no boxes, just himself. My mom opened the door before I could. She stepped back as he entered. Didn't say his name, didn't reach for him. She just said, "It's on the counter." He nodded once, walked past her, straight to the kitchen. The letter was sitting there, folded, waiting. He picked it up slowly, opened it, and read. I watched from the hallway, half hidden behind the wall, afraid to interrupt, afraid not to be there. He didn't sit down, he stood the entire time, eyes scanning every word, brow furrowed, lips tight, no sigh, no whisper, no shaking of the head, just stillness. When he was done, he folded it again, carefully, as if it was fragile. And then, he turned and looked at me, not with anger, not with betrayal, just sadness. The kind that hits you in the throat and lives in your eyes. He didn't say much. He just nodded toward the living room. Can we talk? We sat down across from each other, same spots we used to watch TV, but there was no TV today. Just two people who didn't know where to begin. He leaned forward, hands clasped, eyes locked on mine. Thank you for not keeping it a secret. I didn't speak. He continued, I was waiting for something to feel real again. And somehow that letter, it hurt, but it was real. I asked him if he was okay. He gave a weak smile. No, but I'm getting there. There was a long pause. Then he asked something I didn't expect. Do you think she meant it? What she wrote? I thought about it. About how quiet she had been. How tired her face looked. How she didn't try to defend herself. And I said, yeah, I think she did. He nodded. That's what scares me. He looked down at his hands, then up at the ceiling, then back at me. You know, I never thought love could fade. I thought if you did everything right, stayed loyal, worked hard, showed up, that it would be enough. Another pause. He laughed bitterly. Turns out, love's more fragile than I thought. I didn't know what to say to that. I was just a kid, their kid, watching his parents live through something that didn't have rules. So I asked him, do you still love her? He didn't answer right away. Just stared into the distance. Then, quietly, yes, and that's the problem. After a few minutes, he stood up, put the letter back on the counter. I'm not coming home yet, he said. But I'm not disappearing either. I followed him to the door. My mom stood a few feet away, still silent. He looked at her. No hug, no tears, just words. I read it. I believe you. But belief and trust, they're not the same thing. She nodded, didn't speak, and then he left. Again. But this time, it didn't feel like a door slamming. It felt like a crack slowly opening. Not enough to walk through yet, but enough to let light in. Later that night, I found the letter back on the counter, still folded, still waiting. Only now, there were 2 sets of fingerprints on it. 2 versions of pain. 2 people who still loved each other, but didn't know if that love was enough. Things didn't magically get better. There wasn't a family dinner. There wasn't a tearful reunion. There wasn't even a real conversation between them after he left. But something shifted, and that shift mattered. My mom changed. Not all at once, but in small, careful ways. She stopped asking if I was okay, stopped forcing small talk, stopped smiling at nothing like everything was fine. Instead, she started doing something different. She stayed quiet, not the kind of silence she used when she was hiding something, not the kind that felt cold. This was different. It was the kind of silence that said, I know I hurt you. I know I broke something, and I'm not going to pretend I didn't. One morning, I came to the kitchen and found her sitting there, a journal open in front of her, her glasses on, a pen in her hand. She was writing, not texting, not scrolling, just writing. Pages filled with her thoughts. She looked up at me. Therapist told me to start this, she said. Said if I can't talk to him yet, I should at least talk to myself. I didn't respond, but I noticed the journal. I noticed the effort. That was something. She started going for walks again. Without her phone, no music, no calls, just her and the road. And when she came back, she actually looked lighter. Not happy, but lighter. One night, we sat on the couch. A movie was playing, but we weren't really watching. She turned to me suddenly. You know, I wasn't always like this. I glanced at her, waited. She stared straight ahead. When your dad and I first got married, I was scared of everything. Bills, his long hours, motherhood. But I was also in love, deeply. I just forgot how to say it out loud, forgot how to show it. And when things got quiet between us, I let the quiet turn into distance, then secrets, then this. I didn't respond, but I listened, really listened, because for the first time, she wasn't making excuses. She wasn't trying to make me feel better. She was just speaking the truth. And it hurt, but it was real. That night, she put away the old photo of the three of us, the one by her bed. She didn't throw it out. She just placed it in a drawer, gently, not like someone erasing the past, but like someone admitting it needed to rest for a while. I asked her if she'd talked to Dad. She shook her head. No, I think he needs time. And I need to prove I respect that. Then she added, but I'll be here. If he ever wants to come back, not to explain, just to start again, from whatever is left. There was no more pretending in our house, no more fake dinners, no more, maybe everything's fine, looks. It wasn't fine, but it was honest now. And sometimes, that's the first step toward healing. I went to see my dad the next day. He didn't ask questions, didn't bring up the letter, didn't ask about her. We just sat, played a board game like old times, laughed once or twice. At one point, I asked him, "Do you think you'll come home?" He paused, then said, "Home's not just a place. It's where you feel safe. And right now, I'm not there yet." I didn't push, just nodded, because I understood now. This wasn't about choosing between staying or leaving. It was about rebuilding something that might never look the same again. And for the first time, I stopped wishing things would go back to before. Because before was already broken. We just didn't know it yet. It was a Thursday, late afternoon, sky full of clouds that hadn't decided if they were going to rain or not. I heard a knock, not the doorbell, just a single knock, soft. I opened it, and there he was, Dad, holding a small box, wearing the same windbreaker he used to throw on for early grocery runs. No suitcase, no speech in his eyes, just presence. "Hey," he said. "Got a few of your things in my trunk, thought I'd drop them off." I stepped aside, let him in. Mom wasn't home, which, maybe, was the reason he came, or maybe it was just coincidence. He placed the box down by the couch. Old photos, some gains, a hoodie I hadn't realized I missed. We sat. Not close, not far, just enough space to say, "We're still figuring this out." He looked around the living room. Same couch, same lamp, same silence. But nothing about it felt the same. "She's different," I said quietly. "She's not faking it anymore." He nodded, didn't ask questions, didn't roll his eyes, just said, "So am I." We talked for a bit, about nothing big, the weather, work, the neighbor's broken fence. Then he looked at me, a long pause before he spoke. "You grew up this month." I didn't say anything, didn't need to. He continued, "I wish you hadn't had to. I wish we'd protected you better. I wish I'd paid closer attention." And then he said something that stuck. "But I'm proud of how you handled the truth, even when it hurt." That one hit harder than I expected, because for weeks, I'd wondered if I made things worse, if telling the truth tore us all apart. But hearing that, from him, it made it worth it. We sat there for a few more minutes. Then he stood up, brushed off his jeans. "Tell her I'm not ready, but I'm not gone forever." And then he walked to the door. Before he left, he looked at me again. "I might not move back yet, but I'll show up. For you." Then he left. And for the first time in weeks, the door didn't feel like it had closed. It felt like it had been left slightly open. Just enough. Just enough. That night when Mom came home, I told her. He came by. She froze, halfway through taking off her scarf. How did he look? Tired, but kind. She nodded, didn't ask more, didn't cry, just quietly said, "That's more than I deserve." I thought she'd try to fix things again, make a plan, call him, suggest dinner. But she didn't. She just went to her room, and I heard her close her journal. And that felt like a step too. I went to my room and stared at the ceiling, thought about what had changed, what hadn't. The truth? My parents still weren't together. Our family still looked different. The silence still echoed sometimes. But for the first time, no one was pretending anymore. No more fake smiles. No more covered truths. No more quiet lies. We were hurt, but we were honest. And in that strange, painful way, we were healing. It's been a few weeks since that last visit. He hasn't moved back. She hasn't asked him to. And I've stopped waiting for things to go back to normal. Because I finally get it now. Normal was the mask. What we have now, this version of us, this is real. We're still figuring it out. Still walking around each other gently. Still learning how to speak without hurting. But we're speaking. We're trying. My mom cooks dinner most nights now. Nothing fancy, no big gestures, but she always makes enough for 3. And she always sets his place at the table, even if it stays empty. She doesn't say why, and I don't ask. Some habits are grief dressed in hope. My dad texts more now. He sends me dumb memes, asks if I've eaten, offers to grab coffee. Sometimes he comes by and fixes small things in the house. A leaky faucet, a creaky door. He never stays long. But every time he leaves, he looks back. Every time. Like maybe he's measuring the distance between what we lost and what might still be waiting. We don't talk about the letter anymore. We don't talk about the cafe, or the photo, or the email. Those things happened. They changed us, but they don't define us. I asked my mom once, "Do you think he'll ever move back in?" She smiled, not hopeful, not sad, just honest. Maybe not. But I'll keep showing up, even if he doesn't. I think that's what healing looks like. Not erasing the damage, not pretending the wound never happened, but showing up anyway. Choosing to rebuild, even if the shape is different. I've changed too. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not confused. I'm older. Not in years, but in the way I see people. The way I understand mistakes. I don't think love is about being perfect. I think love is about being honest when it's hardest to be. My parents are no longer the people I thought they were. And that's okay, because now I get to know who they really are. Not just as parents, but as people. Flawed, tired, trying. And trying, I've learned, is enough. One night, we sat at the table, just me and her. Quiet dinner. She looked up and said, "You saved us, you know?" Not the marriage, but the truth. And that matters more than you realize. I didn't know how to respond, so I just nodded. But later that night, I wrote it down. Because I think she was right. I didn't save their love story, but I saved the honesty. I saved my father from a lie. I helped my mother face her own truth. And I learned something about myself in the process. We're not the same family anymore. We're not the smiling photo on the nightstand. But we're still here, still connected, still trying. And for now, that's enough.